Hi there, my name is Lars Sorensen. Thank you for watching this small video we've created for you over at the Future Technology Conference in San Francisco. Just to give you an idea of all the exciting stuff that's going on here and all the papers that have been admitted to our conference. Next up, we're going to talk to the CEO of Aleria and also the president of Aleria Research, executive director of the Quantitative Studies and Diversity and Inclusion. We have a long range of things that you do, Paolo Gaudiano.
A few too many things, yes.
Yeah, too many things. I read the bio and I always have to say this, that I'm sorry we won't be addressing the full extent of your experiences
That's
here.
quite all right.
But we will be addressing the paper that is now being presented here. And it's an agent-based simulation of corporate gender biases. And we're going to talk about diversity and inclusion, right?
Exactly.
This is where there's magic laying around, low-hanging fruit laying around, and still a lot of corporates or organizations don't know what they're missing out. How did you came onto this topic?
It's kind of interesting because it's something that I've been passionate about personally for a very long time. And for the last 20 years or so, I've been working in a space that uses this unique approach to analytics that solves a lot of really complex problems, including things in workforce management and marketing. And then about 4 years ago, I had this light bulb moment where I realized that the work that I was doing had the potential to be applied to diversity and inclusion, specifically to help companies understand how being more diverse and more inclusive can make them both more profitable and also make their employees more satisfied and therefore stay longer. And so I dove into it about 4 years ago. I've done a lot of research and a lot of learning. I've teamed up with some phenomenal people. And now that's it's a consuming passion, as you can see from all the different things that I'm doing in academia, for-profit, and nonprofit.
Then I would say that over the years, and at least the last 10 or 20 years, there have been multiple studies that show that if you are a more diverse population in an organization, these are usually the organizations that have more profit, people stay longer. So it's not new information, but then
Correct.
A lot of corporations are still not adapting. Is this the missing linking pin?
I like to think so. I think the problem is that a lot of the data that we see is about correlations. It's about looking at historical data and seeing that companies, for example, let's say with more women on the board or more executives that are more diverse, tend to outperform other companies. The problem is, first, that the fact that there is a correlation does not mean that there is a causal link, meaning that A does not lead to B. But more importantly, even if you know that that's true, what do you do as a CEO? Do you just fire half of your board? You certainly can't do that. And what we're doing is very different because we use computer simulations to literally simulate the behavior of individuals within an organization, how they interact with each other, and how that ultimately influences the behavior of the company as a whole. And then conversely, how the rules and regulations of a company and the behaviors of the company influence the people. So we close that loop and we make it possible to understand, first of all, what kind of initiatives will have the greatest impact, and secondly, what's going to be the actual outcome in terms of, again, profitability and employee satisfaction.
Yeah. But then my guess would be that there would be as much people saying that looking on a history base doesn't give you any, how you say that?
Any benefit or any advantage?
Any advantage,
yeah.
As much as looking in the future, we don't know if it's going to be like that. So how to convince people that this simulation actually is based on science?
Well, I would say there are two ways that I come to that. One is I've done very similar work in a different space, in the marketing analytics space, using the same methodology to simulate consumer markets, and was involved with another company that has done incredibly well in terms of predicting things that have not been predictable with other approaches. But there is a different side of it, which is that I would tell people, if you think about 20 years ago, people used to ask the question, is the internet advertising a good thing? Should we be doing that? Mm-hmm. Why can we, traditional media companies are doing so well anyway. And all those traditional media companies, because they did not embrace these new technologies, they went the way of the dinosaur. And I believe that companies that do not know how to embrace diversity and inclusion, as our tools become more popular and more used, they will lose out because they will lose on a very important competitive advantage because ultimately your people are your most important asset. And that's what we're working with.
Now, this is the paper that you've presented here.
Mm-hmm.
Are we already seeing this research implemented, or this approach implemented?
We're just starting. I mean, this is the organizations that are around are less than 2 years old. But we've done a project, for example, in the financial services space. In fact, the presentation that I gave was talking about a project that looks at how gender biases within a corporation actually impact the ability of women to advance through their careers. And in turn, how that impacts the performance of the company as a whole. So we have not yet gotten to the point where we have implemented projects and then come back 2 years later to see how they're doing. But we're seeing that even just changing the way that people think about diversity and inclusion is critically important, because it removes that barrier of, oh, I'm doing this and I'm worried that I'm going to get sued. And it's really about saying, look, you have human talent. That's the most important asset that you have. Here's how you can help to make it better. And you should do it because it's the right thing to do, but you should also do it because it's the right business thing to do. So for us, even just spreading the word and getting people to learn a new way to think about diversity and inclusion is very important. And from that perspective, we're being very successful. And being here certainly helps, because we're getting a lot of people in the audience that are very interested in hearing about what we're doing.
Oh, great. It's always good to hear a little bit about your experience with us. So reactions or just your experience at the conference?
I have to say it's great. I felt a little bit like an oddball, because I talked about a topic that is not really central to the theme of the conference. It is, in the sense that it is a future technology, and I do think that this will become much more popular in the future. But what was really rewarding to see that in a room full of people that are not experts in diversity and inclusion, there was a lot of engagement, there were a lot of really good questions, and people that came up to me afterward and asked about it, which goes to show that it's a topic that many people care about, because again, it has both a societal implication as well as a business implication. So it's been great, and at the same time, I've been hearing about things like AI neural networks that I used to be familiar with, that I used to work in. So it's been quite a fun experience.
We want to thank you so much for taking some time to share this with us. Obviously, if people want to know more, we have the proceedings available online. Make sure to check that out. Paolo Gaudiano, thank you so much for spending some time with us and explaining this. And if we triggered you to even know more about our conference or about these wonderful papers, check them all out. We got more videos, we got more papers, and we got more conferences coming up. And we would love for you to join one of them. Check out locations and dates on the website, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you.